So this is something that has been requested from me for quite a while now, from family, friends, people on Instagram, basically just wanting to know my story. So here it is. I was quite nervous to do this. It's hard to know where to start because it's such a journey, as you all know. So it's hard to know where to even begin. But I guess a good place to start might be to explain what is alopecia to those who don't actually know what it is, who aren't so sure. So it stands for hair loss. It comes in many different forms, which I won't go into because there's so many. But the cause is unknown, therefore you can only temporarily treat symptoms and not the cause, which is why it's considered incurable. It doesn't make you unwell, but obviously it can have a huge effect on your mental state of mind, and that is something that is so underlooked. It happens when your body decides to attack your hair follicles as if they were a foreign body, like a virus, so your immune system is malfunctioning and working overdrive, basically. So that's it, to sum it up, just to make it a bit more understandable for those of you who didn't really know what it was. So yeah. So now about me. So I found my first little patch, or patches, 4 to 5 years ago now, just one each side of my the nape of my neck. They were really tiny. You could barely notice them. I only noticed them because you know your own hair, and that's all they ever were. They went as quick as they came, and that was that. And I never really thought much into it, to be honest. I thought that was the end of it. Clearly it wasn't, but that was it for that. So that all grew back, and that was normal. At that time, I had heard of alopecia, and in fact both my dad and my sister had suffered with patches, so I was familiar with the whole thing. It's strange because some people say it's hereditary. I don't think it is, but I do think it means that your bodies are programmed very similarly to react to certain things in that way, and therefore you're more susceptible to alopecia. You also Google the hell out of things like this and read almost everything that you can find. I know we're always told not to Google things, but I honestly think being prepared for it all, the shock had so much less of an impact for what was to come. So fast forward a year or two later, I remember rehearsing for a show, and my good friend Jess said to me, your hair's out of place at the back, let me move that for you. So she put it back into place, and I never really thought much more of it. I did have a double crown, so here and here, so the patch was in this part of my head, and this was annoying anyway. I hated my double crown anyway. It was always out of place. I used to have extensions, micro loops, so they'd always be on show when my crown split, and it used to drive me mad. So at the time I didn't think much of it, but I did have a little bit of a gut feeling in the pit of my stomach. I didn't look straight away, but as soon as I got back to work, I got the girls at work to hold up the mirror for me, and it did confirm to me that there was a patch, about the size of a 50p piece, so not much bigger than that. The only way I can describe that feeling was feeling immediately sick. I felt like someone had filled my insides up with rocks and I was sinking into myself. You almost go out of yourself and you don't know what you're doing, where you are, how you feel. You just feel sick. Honestly, it's strange to talk about because it's hard to remember. When people suffer trauma, their minds unconsciously repress the memory of that time. And I think I'm not alone when I say that that's quite common for alopecia. It's such a shock to the system, and obviously such a stressful time, that your mind kind of protects you from remembering how bad it really was. There's a big gap in my memory between finding that first patch and almost losing it all. I just know I cried a lot. I know my gut wrenched every time I ran my fingers through my hair, and my fingers were wrapped with strands of hair. I remember feeling my way around my scalp, finding new bald patches. That cold, oily feeling, it just gave me lumps in my throat. Literally clutching my chest as I watched strands of hair wriggle down the plug hole, and my tears rolling down my face, my eyes just completely filled with water. It was a long, dark, drawn-out process, and it was made so much longer by the torture of slowly watching your identity slip away without anything to stop it. And I think that's what is really hard to come to terms with. It's not about the hair, it's about losing who you are. We base so much of what we are on our exterior, on our looks. that when that's taken away from you without any of your control, it's hard. It's really hard. The constant being in limbo with it all, with every bit of new growth came a new patch. It was just like a vicious circle. I did choose to go to the doctors. They ran the usual blood test, prescribed a topical scalp steroid, and referred me to a dermatologist. I was lucky. I didn't really have to wait that long for a dermatologist, maybe a couple of weeks. But honestly, I wanted to run away from it altogether. I didn't want to see a dermatologist, but I knew that it was the only thing left to try. I'd already spent countless hours Googling this stuff. I felt I was the expert. I thought I knew deep down. The reality of it was there was no cure. And the only thing that was going to make me feel better was a miracle. And I knew that that wasn't going to happen. So to me, what was the point? The day of the appointment came. I went with my mum. The whole thing is, I can only describe it as an out-of-body experience. I felt like I was watching this young girl have her heart ripped out and stamped on. Everything he said I already knew. I'd read it online. I prepared myself for this, but honestly, nothing prepares you for when someone says it out loud. He might as well have ripped every last strand from my head for all I cared. That would have been so much less painful. Sorry about that. He looked at my scalp and he told me I have over 50% hair loss, and the extent of my hair loss over such a small period of time was nothing like he'd ever seen before. I don't really know why he said this, as since discovering this huge alopecia community, I know that what happened to me is not a one-off, and I know that there are people that this happened to overnight. Mine took a month to completely go, but yeah, I've heard people have lost it overnight, so it really wasn't the worst case of alopecia. He did inform me that the problem with hair loss over 50% is the chance of regrowth is much less and the chance of relapse is much higher. Because of this, I had one option. Excuse my pronunciation of this, but he prescribed prednisolone. It is an oral steroid. I know the word steroid and I know that they do amazing things and they're lifesavers in tablet form for so many people. But I know they come with huge side effects. And by the time I'd made this realisation in my mind, he was still listing off the common side effects, some of which were insomnia, bruising easily, inability to fight infections, weight gain. To me, it was a lot. It was a lot to take in. How these steroids work is that they suppress your immune system to allow your body to stop attacking the hair follicles, so almost trick your mind into thinking that the follicles are not a foreign body, and then in the hope that when you taper off the drug, your body will remember that. They have a very low permanent solution rate, so they work for some, for only temporarily. So yeah, not a permanent solution basically. And with the risk of side effects so high, I'd pretty much made up my mind they weren't for me. Having chosen not to take the steroids, my family found it hard to understand why I wouldn't just try. My boyfriend found it hard to understand why I wouldn't just try. But I was not willing to put my body through that and sacrifice everything else for hair. It began to put it all into perspective for me. It's only hair. I couldn't believe I was saying this, and even now, saying it out loud, I'm sure a lot of you probably think it might sound crazy. I did keep the prescription in my bag for a few weeks. I was very tearful, slowly digesting that I had very low chances of regrowth. This is where I think I started to accept it. And although my family didn't understand at first, something that really helped me through, and I think is really important, is you can't expect people to understand something that they don't experience. The most important thing, really, was that they allowed me to just feel however I needed to feel, whenever I needed to feel it. It was fine for me to be okay with it. It was fine for me not to be okay with it, and it was fine for me to pretend that I was okay with it even when I wasn't. And that allowed me to express my emotions in whatever way I needed. I find it really hard not to be okay. I'm such a positive person. So I felt I was failing myself when I couldn't be positive about this, which is mad because it's such a huge thing. And I look back on me now and I was way too hard on myself. The best thing that I could do now was learn to accept it. So first stop was deleting all the photos that I'd tortured myself with, but I keep looking at, documenting my hair loss, new patches, how much I'd lost, how much I hadn't lost. Really, I was probably keeping them photos in the hope that I would see regrowth. I never did. It was time to just delete them. They haunted my camera roll. Your camera roll should be full of like happy memories, and I love taking photos, so that's what all these photos were in, amongst like happy times, and they needed to go. It was the first step to it not consuming my life. Next was alternative hair. So I still hadn't lost it all. So between myself and my best friend and hairdresser Lily, we were online Googling like what can we do, what is available, and she found a topper. It was £100. I ordered it straight away. It was the best £100 I'd ever spent, and still to this day the best £100 I ever spent. I'd always worn extensions, as I was never blessed with thick, lovely, long locks like these, so I feel amazing to have them now. And I also ordered a halo extension piece. Both of these worked amazing for me. I felt like a new woman. I forgot about my hair loss. I basically convinced myself that it wasn't even happening, and even when I felt like it was happening, it wasn't that bad. My hair still fell out in the shower. I didn't care. I honestly didn't shed another tear. As soon as I started to feel like me again, a little bit of a miracle happened. I had full regrowth. I felt amazing. I felt like I defied the odds. I was so proud of myself for not taking those steroids, sticking to my gut, and just, it had paid off almost. I had like tufts of hair everywhere. Now I'd lost it all around the sides, and obviously from my crown as well. So I had tufts sticking up here like this. We used to laugh about it, and I was really lucky. The hair that grew back was thick and dark. It had all its pigment. It was exciting. It got to a point where I didn't have to wear the topper anymore, and I just wore the halo extension for thickness. And that I didn't put micro loops back in straight away, just in case they did put a bit of strain on the hair, being new hair. So I carried on with the halo, but I always would have worn extra hair anyway for thickness and length. So this to me was, I was normal again. I didn't have alopecia anymore. So life carried on for about a year as normal. I'd forgotten about alopecia. I actually came off the Facebook group because seeing posts of people in a dark place just brought back rough memories for me, and I wanted to remain happy. Like, this had happened for me. I was lucky. Of course I felt for those suffering, but I felt like I'd done my suffering and now was my time to be happy again. Although I wish I could say it was the end, but I can't. Around a year later, I was on holiday in Turkey with my boyfriend. Had a ponytail in, and he says to me, "Don't freak out, but there's a small patch behind your ear." Not freak out. Freak out was an understatement. I cried. I cried so much. I felt so helpless. Like, I wasn't home, and it made it so much harder. I don't know what I thought would be different about being in England. It's not like being in England would make that hair grow back. But we'd waited all year for this holiday, and we worked hard. I chose to push it to the back of my mind until we got home. Only when we got home and I removed my micro loops that I'd eventually put back in, did I realise I'd already been losing so much hair so rapidly, and actually the hair had only stayed in my head because the beads of the micro loops had held it there. So when I took these out, I was left with just a few straggles. This time it was really hard. it broke me that little bit more. I howled in my car into my steering wheel where no one could see or hear me. I got through days by taking myself out of my body and just watching a robot version of myself complete daily tasks like work, just the general day-to-day life. I sprayed the hell out of my scalp with brunette dry shampoo. I clipped my topper to the finest pieces of hair and suffered painful headaches just from where it would pull. You know, like when you have a ponytail and there's that one strand that's really pulling? Yeah, that every day. But then something just clicked in me. I had to accept this for what it was. I had to give in to alopecia. If I didn't, it was going to consume me completely. 1 month and alopecia had taken almost all of my hair. 1 month wasn't even enough time to process the physical change, let alone the mental challenge of accepting it. I just had to make sure alopecia didn't take the me out of me. I spent a long time telling myself, how can you be you when you don't even look or feel like you? And I wish I'd never tortured myself like that. You're still you inside, but it is hard to feel like you. Like I say, when you don't look like you and you don't feel like you. You spend ages trying to find a cause, racking your brain for what or whose fault it could be, because anything is better than your own body failing you. So the group I'd previously joined, the Alopecia Facebook group, through this I had seen the Little Princess Trust providing 1 wig to people under 25 who suffer with medical hair loss. I knew it was time. Wigs really scared me. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know anyone that wore them, and I didn't want to wear one, but I just felt like, what choice did I have left? I contacted the Little Princess Trust, and within 24 hours they had gifted me the choice of 1 wig from a local wig provider. It all felt like a dream. It happened so quickly, and each lady every step of the way was incredibly understanding and helpful. This wig healed me. Honestly and truly, I don't even know why I was scared now looking back. I knew I had to give something back. So my friends began helping me fundraise, and soon there was nothing left to be negative about. At this point, I had very few strands left under my wig, and it really made me look so unwell. I was always happy when I had my wig on, and I was always happy when I didn't have my wig on, apart from these few strands. They were just a reminder that I used to have hair that grew out of my head. Reality of it was, I probably wasn't going to get that back, so I don't really know why I hang on to them for so long. My boyfriend's best friend is a barber, so he shaved the last few strands off for me, and I honestly felt liberated. Why did I hang on to them for so long? They served me no purpose, apart from a grueling reminder of what I'd been through. And when I shaved those strands off, I felt like I'd cut that hold that alopecia had over my life. I was free from its chains, and I was finally in a happy place. The very last bridge I had to cross was losing my eyebrows and eyelashes. I'd gone from alopecia areata, so that's patchy hair loss, to alopecia totalis, which is total hair loss from the scalp, to now alopecia universalis, which is complete hair loss all over the body. So yes, I don't have to shave. I thought I'd already broken so many times, too many times. Is it possible to break any more? Is there further than rock bottom? There definitely was. This stripped me of any feeling of femininity I had left. The one thing that had cured my hatred towards alopecia was this wig, and now I hated it. I felt it looked horrible. It looked wiggy, like you could tell. When you've got your brows and eyelashes, they frame your face. Especially when you're wearing a wig, it's all very dense up here. To not have anything on your face, it just to me was obvious, and we're our own worst critics, so it was hard. It was really hard. I felt I would never look normal again. I was happy bald. If only I could have my brows and lashes. I trade anything for brows and lashes, even now. They frame your face, like I say, and you can still look like you without hair. But I felt I just looked like an alien without the hair on my face. But I did have a lovely lash technician that did her best with not a lot of lashes. And I had semi-permanent eyeliner, which I won in a competition. Amazing. And I had my brows done by another lovely lady as well. The girls that work in these industries cannot possibly begin to understand how much they change people like my life. What you do is amazing. I still didn't feel like I looked like me 100%, just because I'm quite dark hair naturally, so my eyebrows still needed makeup on top of them, and my eyeliner, I wear winged eyeliner, so the eyeliner that I had done was just on the waterline, so it sort of frames your lashes, just to make them look bolder, basically. So through trying to find how to manage that further loss of identity, I found alopecia Instagram accounts, which gave me the inspiration to start my own, really. I found Lucy, also known as My Alopecia Journey. I'm sure so many of you have heard of her. She's beautiful. She had absolutely got this whole alopecia makeup thing down to a T. She was the brightest light in my darkest time. She gave me hope because I could see right in front of me that it was so possible to still look like you despite everything. I had my permanent stencils, my eyebrows and my eyeliner, but now was to learn makeup. I am terrible at makeup. I can do a basic face, but anything else, it's not my forte. Now this was going to be a big challenge for me. Lashes, right, where do I start? I'd always worn lashes, not every day, but like nights out, occasions, when you dress up a bit more, I'd always worn strip lashes, just to complete my outfit basically. I was a pro at them, so I thought, lashes, easy, I'm going to be fine at this. Try putting on strip eyelashes with none of your own lashes to hold it up. Impossible. It was overwhelming. I remember sitting there crying, trying to glue eyelashes on. Tears and eyelash glue do not mix. Not going to happen. I used to have to count to 10 and breathe before I started to stick my eyelashes on. And then I saw something on Twitter. Someone said, if you put a line of eyelash glue on your actual eyelid, allow that to go tacky, and a line of obviously glue on your eyelashes, and then stick it on, it would work amazingly. I did it one time and they stuck. I honestly could have screamed the house down. This is like the best thing ever. Like, I'd struggled for like, I'd say about a month trying to master the art of sticking eyelashes on, and literally one thing I'd seen on Twitter and bam, I'd done it. I was amazed. Brows were really hard. I've never been good at doing a brow. Even when I had hair there, I always had thick eyebrows, thick dark eyebrows. So yeah, this is really hard. I ordered so many products, countless products. I Googled, I hashtagged on Instagram. I just literally, I was willing to buy whatever I needed to buy to give me an eyebrow, sorry. So yeah, I ordered a lot of stuff. It ended up being £2.49 eyebrow and eyeliner 2-in-1 pen from eBay that was the winner. And I literally drew eyebrows on paper. That's how I started to do the strokes. It's practice, don't get me wrong, it's not hard, but I cannot tell you the amount of compliments I've had. Like, where did you get your eyebrows done? And I just say, I do them every morning. And people are amazed. But practice makes perfect. So I can now say that I 100% have a makeup routine that I'm happy with, and it's made me feel like me again. A big part of my self-happiness, love and acceptance does come with a huge thank you to lots of accounts on the Instagram alopecia community. You can't help but fall into the spiral of positivity, but also the comfort of support that's needed when it's not so positive. Although I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. There's something warming to know that you're not alone in all of this, and whatever challenges that you face, there's someone else in the same boat as you, and that's important to know. I also have a huge support network for which I'm so grateful. My family, my boyfriend, my friends, complete strangers, and all of you guys on social media, which makes this story a whole lot easier to tell. I'm a strong believer of what is meant for you won't pass you, and we are only given what we can endure. Truthfully, I can say that I actually don't want the head on my hair to grow back. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I have amazing hair, better than I've ever had naturally. It just doesn't grow from my scalp. You can accept early on, but finding peace with it is never possible for some, or it takes a very long time. For me, I finally met peace with it, and I'm 100% happy. Now, some of you are probably thinking, she cried a few tears earlier. Is she really happy with it? Or is she doing that thing where she's lying to herself again? That got me because, as I said, I was looking at someone else sat there, a young girl losing her hair, and she'd had her heart ripped out. And it still makes me cry to think of all those girls that are that girl, that are sat there and their heart is being ripped out and stamped on because they're losing their hair. And that's something that's never going to change. Everyone's going to go through that. And it breaks my heart. It's hard. There's so many girls that suffer this, and men, and no two journeys are the same, and that's really important to remember. But yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. Obviously, like, it's a big journey. Like, I'm happy now, but when you look back on things and they really got you good, really got you in a bad time, it brings back the feels. It does. And I haven't really spoken about it out loud, so it's a big thing for me. This is huge. So I had lots of questions yesterday after asking you guys for help, as I didn't actually think I could babble on for this long. I've definitely answered some already, but some don't quite fit into this, so I'm sure lots more questions will come from this video as well. So if I put up another question story on my Instagram page, and then I'll do some video story replies on there separately, as I think that will be much more simple. But yeah, I hope you all found my story interesting and I didn't bore you to death. If you're still watching, then thank you. If I tell this story and it helps one single human, then my work here is done. So yeah, thank you for watching.